Episode 5 of Heartland, Season 19, is shaping up to be one of those episodes that everyone will be talking about, not necessarily because it's perfect, but because it's bound to stir emotions, raise eyebrows, and maybe even make some fans angry. The story continues right after the chaotic events of the previous episode. Caleb and Nathan barely made it back after their near-disaster flight, and while they both walked away without serious injuries, the emotional fallout is far from over. Caleb's pride took a hit, and Nathan's trust in him seems to have shattered completely. From the first look, we can already tell that their so-called friendship will be tested like never before. And honestly, who can blame them? After everything that happened, there's no going back to the easy banter we used to see between them. This time, it's personal, and it's going to get ugly before it gets better. Meanwhile, Amy seems caught in a storm of her own. The official synopsis hints that she'll be facing one of the toughest career challenges in years, taking on the responsibility of helping an Olympian's horse that no one else could figure out. But things go sideways fast when she fails to find what's wrong with the horse. The Olympian, instead of showing patience, starts spreading rumors about Amy, claiming she's lost her touch. Can you imagine? After everything Amy has done for Heartland, people doubting her skills like that, it's heartbreaking, but also strangely exciting, because this might finally push Amy out of her comfort zone again. We've seen her heal horses, people, and even herself, but this time it feels different. This isn't just about a horse, it's about her identity, her reputation, and the legacy she's been protecting since Ty's passing. And with Nathan stepping up to defend her, we can already sense the emotional tension brewing between them. Now, let's talk about that Nathan and Amy. Their bond has been one of the most talked about storylines this season. Some fans love it, others hate it, but no one can ignore it. The sneak peek suggests that Nathan will be more protective of Amy than ever before, maybe even crossing some lines. He's there when everyone else starts doubting her, standing by her when rumors spread like wildfire. And let's be honest, that kind of loyalty doesn't come without deeper feelings. We've seen the way he looks at her, the way he listens, the way he defends her when no one else will. But here's the thing, loyalty can easily turn into obsession if not handled right. And that's what makes this so intriguing. Is Nathan really in love with Amy, or is he just trying to fill the void left behind by Ty? Episode 5 might finally give us an answer, and then there's Caleb, the one who always seems to hover around Amy's life like a storm cloud that just won't move away. After last episode's tension, it's pretty clear Caleb's emotions are all over the place. He's jealous, frustrated, and probably not ready to admit that Amy has moved on, at least emotionally. The sneak peek suggests a confrontation between him and Nathan that could change their dynamic completely. It's not just about Amy anymore, it's about pride, rivalry, and the struggle to let go of the past. And if you've been watching Heartland for as long as I have, you know that these emotional showdowns are where the real magic happens when characters are forced. Two-faced truths they've been running from for years. But what's most interesting about episode 5 isn't just the drama, it's the tone. The earlier episodes this season have felt a bit lighter, even predictable at times. But this one promises something darker, more grounded, and emotional. There's this tension hanging over the story, like something big is about to happen, and everyone senses it, but no one can quite say what it is. Maybe it's the start of a new chapter for Amy, or maybe it's the beginning of something that will shake the entire Heartland family to its core. Either way, one thing's for sure. This episode isn't just another filler. It feels like the calm before a storm, the kind of episode that looks quiet on the surface but hides an emotional explosion underneath, and that's exactly why so many fans are both excited and nervous. Because let's be honest, Heartland has had its ups and downs lately. Some storylines felt rushed, others dragged on for too long. But when the show focuses on its characters, their relationships, their struggles, their small but powerful moments, that's when it shines. Episode 5 seems ready to bring that back. It's giving us emotional stakes, moral challenges, and maybe even the spark of romance that actually feels earned. It's the kind of episode that might remind us why we fell in love with Heartland in the first place. Not because it's perfect, but because it's human. From what I've gathered so far, episode 5 isn't just going to be about fixing a horse or settling an argument. It's about healing what's broken inside these characters. And let's be honest, there's a lot that needs fixing. Amy is still struggling to find her footing in a world that keeps changing faster than she can adapt. She's holding on to the same routines, the same hope that every new challenge will somehow reconnect her with the peace she once had when Ty was still around. But life doesn't work like that, and neither does Heartland anymore. In this episode, we'll see Amy forced to accept that sometimes love, loss, and healing don't look the way you expect them to. They come in the form of setbacks, harsh words, and moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. And knowing Amy, she'll probably blame herself before anyone else. What makes this episode so emotionally charged is that the people closest to her, the ones who are supposed to lift her up, might actually be the ones who bring her down without meaning to. Caleb, for instance, still hasn't learned when to step back. He keeps trying to prove himself to Amy to make her see that he's still someone she can count on. But in doing so, he might be crossing boundaries she's not ready for. There's a particular scene that fans are already buzzing about. A quiet, emotional confrontation between Amy and Caleb where years of tension finally boil to the surface. No yelling, no chaos, just two people realizing that their connection might not be what they thought it was. Amy's patience runs thin, and Caleb is left questioning where he truly stands in her life. And honestly, that's long overdue. Because as much as we love Caleb, his inability to move on has held him and everyone around him back for way too long. Meanwhile, Nathan's character arc seems to be heading in a more complicated direction. He started the season as the charming newcomer who wanted to do good, but now we're starting to see the cracks. The way he defends Amy, the way he steps into situations that don't always concern him, it's sweet. But it's also a little too much. Some fans see genuine care. Others see obsession slowly creeping in. And that's what makes this dynamic so interesting. Because Amy isn't looking for a savior, she's looking for balance. She wants someone who understands her pain without trying to fix it. The real question is, can Nathan be that person? Or is he too caught up in trying to be the next Ty to realize that Amy doesn't need another Ty, she needs someone completely different? That's the emotional trap episode 5 might explore, and honestly, it could either make or break Nathan's character for the audience. On top of all this emotional chaos, we'll also see Lou and Jack dealing with their own mini crisis back at Heartland. The ranch might look peaceful, but there's tension brewing underneath. Lou's new business project is facing unexpected pushback. And Jack, as always, is trying to keep the peace while holding everyone together. But this time, even Jack seems more distant, quieter, reflective. Almost as if he senses that the family is drifting apart, piece by piece. And maybe he's right. Because no matter how much everyone pretends things are fine, the truth is that Heartland hasn't felt like home lately. There's an emptiness there, a sense that something's missing, and episode 5 looks like it's finally ready to address that. Maybe not directly, but through small moments, a look, a word, a silence that says more than any line of dialogue ever could. Another big talking point for this episode is the introduction of Dex again, the new ranch hand who's still trying to prove himself. Remember how in the last episode, everyone thought he was a complete disaster? Well, now he's got a second chance, and this time, he might actually surprise us, from the looks of it. Dex will start forming a stronger connection with Katie. Their chemistry is starting to feel more intentional now, and I can already tell the writers are setting something up for later in the season. There's a sweetness in the way they interact, innocent but meaningful, almost like how Amy and Ty started all those years ago. It's subtle, but it's there. And while some fans might not be ready to see another young couple take that spotlight, I think it's a good thing. It keeps Heartland alive for a new generation, showing that love and hope can still grow even after everything the older characters have lost. But make no mistake, episode 5 isn't all sunshine and cute moments. The tension between the main characters is what really drives the episode. We'll see secrets come to light, unspoken words finally surface, and emotions that have been buried since season 18 start breaking through. Amy, especially, will be pushed to her limits. She'll have to make choices that might not sit well with everyone. And that's what's going to make this episode unforgettable. Because the best moments in Heartland have never been about perfection, they've been about truth. The truth that life moves on even when it hurts. The truth that not every relationship lasts forever. And the truth that healing isn't a straight path. There's a growing sense of suspense that builds throughout the episode. Little clues that something bigger might be on the horizon. Maybe it's a new challenge for Amy's business. Maybe it's a shocking decision from Nathan. Or maybe it's a storyline twist involving Caleb that no one saw coming. Whatever it is, episode 5 feels like a turning point. The calm before the emotional storm that might reshape the rest of the season. And if you ask me, this is exactly what Heartland needed. Not another predictable filler, but a story that keeps us guessing, questioning, and feeling every single moment. Asterisk, asterisk, if there's one thing Heartland has always done well, it's reminding us that healing doesn't come easy. Episode 5 seems to double down on that message, especially through Amy's storyline. She's at a point where she's constantly being tested not just as a horse trainer, but as a person who's still trying to redefine who she is after everything that's happened in her life. The Olympian's horse storyline might sound simple on paper, but it's layered with meaning. It's not just about a horse that won't perform. It's about how Amy reacts when her reputation, something she's worked for her whole life, starts crumbling in front of her. The rumors about her losing her touch hit her hard. And for the first time in a while, we'll see Amy truly shaken. She's been strong for everyone else, for her daughter, her family, and even her clients. But in this episode, she's forced to face what it feels like to lose control. And honestly, that's what makes her human. We've seen her fix every broken thing that comes her way. But maybe this time, she's the one who needs fixing. What's heartbreaking, though, is how alone Amy starts to feel through all this. People she trusted begin to question her. Some even start to distance themselves out of fear that being associated with her could hurt their own image. And that's when we really see who's truly on her side. Nathan becomes her biggest supporter, almost to a fault. He's constantly defending her name, stepping in during conversations that don't even concern him. It's sweet at first, but you can tell Amy's starting to feel conflicted about it. She appreciates him, yes, but at the same time, there's this uneasiness in her eyes, like she's not sure whether Nathan's protection is coming from love or from something deeper, something a bit possessive. And that tension is going to explode sooner or later, because Amy doesn't need a hero. She needs someone who stands beside her, not in front of her. And Nathan, whether he realizes it or not, is walking a very thin line. Meanwhile, Caleb is in his own emotional mess. He's caught between pride, guilt, and regret. Pride, because he still believes he's doing what's right. Guilt, because deep down he knows his choices have hurt people. And regret, because no matter how hard he tries, he can't shake the feeling that he's losing Amy for good this time. There's a rumor that in this episode, Caleb will have a quiet moment with Jack, a conversation that could completely change how we see him moving forward. Jack, being the wise old soul that he is, might finally call Caleb out on his behavior, reminding him that holding on to something that's already gone will only keep him stuck. And if that really happens, it's going to hit hard. Because we've all seen how much Caleb's love for Amy has shaped him, both in good and bad ways. This could finally be the moment where he starts to let go. Not because he stops caring, but because he finally understands that love sometimes means stepping away. And while all of this drama unfolds, the ranch itself seems to mirror the chaos. Heartland has always had this way of making the setting feel alive. The weather, the animals, even the silence of the land. Everything reflects what the characters are going through. In this episode, that feeling of tension and unease spreads like wildfire. Horses act up for no reason. Small disagreements turn into big arguments, and everyone seems a little more on edge than usual. It's subtle, but powerful. The kind of storytelling Heartland used to be known for. It's like the ranch itself knows that something big is coming. Maybe it's a breaking point for Amy. Maybe it's a decision that changes everything for the family. But one thing's certain, this episode is not just another random chapter. It's the start of something that will shape the rest of season 19. Then there's Katie and Dex, the next generation storyline that's slowly taking root. At first, I didn't think much of their scenes together. They felt like filler moments meant to lighten up the mood. But now, it's starting to make sense. Dex represents everything. Katie isn't reckless, impulsive, and emotionally raw. She's careful and thoughtful, always overanalyzing before she acts, but Dex challenges that. He pushes her out of her shell, forces her to see the world beyond her comfort zone. And if we think about it, it's exactly how Amy and Ty's story began. Two people from completely different worlds finding something unexpected in each other. The only difference is that this time, it's happening in a modern context where relationships move faster and trust takes longer to build. The chemistry is growing slowly, but it's there. And honestly, it's refreshing, because while the older characters are tangled in complicated emotions, Katie and Dex bring back that sense of innocence and possibility that Heartland used to thrive on. Still, beneath all these small, beautiful moments, there's a storm brewing. The writers have been quietly planting seeds since the first episode of the season, and episode 5 feels like the moment where they finally start to sprout. The growing conflict between Nathan and Caleb, the strain on Amy's career, the tension in the family, it's all connected. It's as if the show is preparing us for a big emotional shakeup in the second half of the season. And I can't help but feel that this episode will end on a cliffhanger. Maybe not something explosive, but something emotional, something that leaves us staring at the screen, speechless, and desperate for episode 6 to drop. Because that's what Heartland does best when it's at its strongest. It makes us care. It makes us hope even when things look impossible. And judging from what we've seen so far, episode 5 might just remind us why we still keep coming back to this show, season after season, no matter how many times it breaks our hearts. ***. By the time we reach the middle of episode 5, things are expected to take a more serious turn. The calm surface we've seen in the first few episodes is gone, replaced with tension that you can almost feel. Everyone seems to be walking on eggshells, afraid that one wrong word could trigger another argument. And in true Heartland fashion, that tension doesn't explode through loud fights or over-the-top drama, it sneaks up quietly. In emotional conversations, disappointed glances, and choices that leave lasting scars. Amy, especially, finds herself stuck between what's right for her and what's expected of her. She's always been the glue that holds everyone together. But in this episode, it feels like she's starting to realize that she can't keep fixing everything alone. The pressure is too much. The rumors about her losing her talent are spreading fast. And even though she tries to ignore them, they start to eat away at her confidence. We'll see her questioning herself, doubting her instincts. And for someone like Amy, that's devastating. What makes this episode hit so hard is that we're not just seeing Amy the horse whisperer. We're seeing Amy the person, vulnerable and afraid. There's a quiet scene hinted at in early previews, where she walks through the barn late at night. Everything's silent except for the sound of horses shifting in their stalls. It's one of those moments where she doesn't have to say a word, yet we know exactly what she's feeling. The loneliness, the weight of expectation, the fear of failing. This is the Amy we've missed for a long time, the one who carries the world on her shoulders but still finds the strength to stand tall. And honestly, that's why so many fans still connect with her after all these years. Meanwhile, Nathan's protective side grows even stronger in this episode. He's seen what Amy's going through, and he refuses to let anyone drag her name through the dirt. There's a scene where he confronts the Olympian directly, not in an aggressive way, but with this quiet determination that shows just how much he cares. But here's the problem. Sometimes caring too much can backfire. His overprotective attitude doesn't sit well with everyone, especially Caleb, who sees it as a threat. Caleb's jealousy finally comes to the surface. And what's worse is that he's not entirely wrong to feel that way. Nathan's constant presence around Amy blurs the line between friendship and something deeper. And even Amy herself seems unsure of where to draw that line. We've seen this kind of emotional triangle before in Heartland, but this time it feels heavier, more real. Because now, these aren't teenagers figuring out love. These are adults dealing with loss, regret, and second chances. Caleb's frustration finally boils over when he realizes Amy might be turning to Nathan more than to him. He's tired of being the one left behind, the one who's always just a friend. His emotions get the better of him, leading to a confrontation that feels long overdue. It's not just about Amy, it's about everything he's bottled up for years. The guilt over his past mistakes, the frustration of never being enough, and the pain of watching someone else step into the role he once wanted. Caleb's been through so much, but in this moment, we see that he's still that same man who wears his heart on his sleeve. And while some fans might get tired of the same love triangle storyline, I actually think this episode gives it new meaning. It's not about who ends up with who, it's about closure, about facing the truth even when it hurts. On the flip side, Lou and Jack's storyline in this episode acts as the emotional backbone, grounding everything else. Lou's business struggles mirror Amy's personal crisis, both women trying to prove themselves in a world that seems to have stopped believing in them. Jack, being the anchor of the family, steps in with his usual wisdom, but even he seems tired this time, almost worn down by all the chaos surrounding him. There's a touching moment where Jack reminds Lou that Heartland has survived worse before, but you can sense a hint of worry in his voice, like he's not entirely sure things will be okay this time. And that's what makes this episode so powerful. It's not dramatic in a flashy way, it's emotional, real, and quietly heartbreaking. Then there's Katie and Dex, the calm before the storm. Their growing connection provides a softer contrast to the rest of the episode. But even here, the writers are careful not to make things too easy. Dex still struggles with his insecurities after losing his hockey dream. And Katie, despite her maturity, doesn't always know how to handle his emotional walls. Their relationship is still new, fragile, and uncertain. But it's also full of hope. It's the kind of hope that Heartland thrives on, messy, unpredictable, but deeply human. Watching these two slowly figure things out reminds us that no matter how complicated life gets, there's always room for new beginnings. By the end of the episode, All of these storylines start to collide in a way that feels both inevitable and surprising. The tension that's been building for weeks finally reaches its peak, and everyone is forced to face the consequences of their choices. There's a sense of finality in the air, like this is the moment that will define the rest of the season. And while I won't spoil exactly what happens, let's just say the final few minutes are going to leave fans stunned. It's not a shocking twist for the sake of drama, it's something emotional, something that hits where it hurts. The kind of ending that makes you sit in silence for a few seconds before the credits roll. Because that's what Heartland does best. It doesn't just tell stories, it makes you feel them. And as the dust settles, one thing becomes clear: this episode isn't just another filler. It's a statement. It's the writers saying, we're not done yet. Heartland is far from perfect. But when it leans into its emotional core, family, love, forgiveness, and the courage to start over, it still has the power to break our hearts and heal them at the same time. Episode 5 promises to do exactly that. And if it delivers, we might finally be seeing Heartland return to the kind of storytelling that made us fall in love with it all those years ago. ***.